The top business stories live from the Sky Newsroom. The US House of Representatives is poised to pass Donald Trump's big, beautiful tax bill after lawmakers negotiated all night. Bond yields ease after the Prime Minister reassures markets over Rachel Reeves' position as Chancellor after yesterday. And delivering the goods as England prepared to defend their Euros title. We'll speak to the former Man City footballer who set up a fast-growing parcel delivery firm. Very good afternoon. Welcome to Business Live on this Thursday with me, Darren McCaffrey. The US House of Representatives, we'll get there, is on track to pass Donald Trump's big, beautiful tax and spending bill after lawmakers negotiated all night. The bill includes tax cuts, which Republicans campaigned on last year, as well as a phase-out of Biden-era clean energy initiatives and funding for the president's crackdown on illegal immigration. Let's bring in our US correspondent, David Blevins. David, it does look like it is going to pass.
Yes, although the Democrats are staging a marathon last stand against Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. Their leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has been on his feet in the House for, now wait for it, 6.5 hours. But he's really only delaying the inevitable. They are going to get there in terms of a vote eventually. This bill went through the House on a single vote, 215 to 214, first time around. In the Senate, it was a tie, requiring the Vice President, J.D. Vance, to come along and cast the deciding vote. It's now back, as you can see, on the floor in the House of Representatives. This is a piece of legislation that will really be critical to Donald Trump's second-term agenda. It effectively bankrolls it. As you say, it includes tax cuts. He first introduced back in 2017, so really just extending those, and prioritises spending for his agenda, particularly border security. The bill includes a staggering $170 billion for border security, including $45 billion to finish building the wall. The big problem for many people is the price, of course, because the price is going to be a huge cut to Medicare. That is the program that provides health care for 85 million lower-income Americans. As many as 11 million of them may lose their health care. And the other big problem for many people, including Republicans, is that it's going to add at least $3 trillion to the national debt, which already stands at a staggering $37 trillion. And that is why Elon Musk is suggesting he might even establish a new political party to challenge Republicans who vote in favour of this in due course, Darren.
Yeah, fascinating. The politics behind the economics. David Blevins, as always, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, the Chancellor has stressed her commitment to fiscal discipline after the Prime Minister reassured the public about the markets when it came to her position. Rachel Reeves' rather tearful appearance in Parliament yesterday stoked a bond sell-off amid concerns that the Chancellor, who's cultivated a reputation for fiscal prudence, might be about to lose her job, following a costly U-turn, of course, on welfare reform earlier in the week. So let's speak to Alan Miller, Chief Investment Officer at SCM Direct, a London-based wealth manager. Quite an incredible day or so, really. What have you made of it?
We're back to almost where we were yesterday before she was at PMQ's in the tearful state she was yesterday. But I think it's part of a more systematic issue, which is investors are very nervous about the UK. They're nervous about the high levels of debt and the fragility of the UK economy. So whilst the losses of yesterday have been put right and things have calmed down and the 10-year yields on UK government debt are virtually now back to where they were a day ago, you have to consider just a 0.1% increase in interest rates costs the UK government an extra £2.5 billion. So when you think about all the social security issues of earlier this week, that was just to raise £5 billion. 0.1% is £2.5 billion extra cost.
It's quite an incredible stat, isn't it, Alan? And I suppose the question, though, looking at this particularly about Rachel Reeves, is the rally has, call it a rally, but the correction, if you like, came about because the Prime Minister, or it became clear that he wasn't going to get rid of Rachel Reeves. In many ways, the markets do seem to have some confidence in the Chancellor, and potentially she's actually secured a position even more.
I think you're completely right. I mean, it obviously wasn't, I don't think it's a Machiavellian strategy, but actually it means that she has probably much longer in the position than she would have done otherwise, given the various setbacks. I mean, there have been quite a few own goals, and I think she now has actually a longer tenure, depending on how she performs over the next 12 to 24 months.
And it is.
It would be nice, instead of taxing, the average man in the street, to actually concentrate more on other ways to raise taxes, which are less damaging to the economy.
Well, that may well be the task that she's going to have to undertake this summer, given the fiscal black hole that seems to be getting wider and wider by the day. But whether it's here in the UK, whether it's with Liz Truss previously, or indeed Donald Trump, it does seem that the bond markets have got the ability to buffet politicians around quite a lot.
Yes. No, you're completely right. The bond markets have a lot of power. But if you think about the amount of debt the UK government has, and as I said, just a 0.1% interest rate higher costs £2.5 billion. Now, for many years, interest rates the government borrowed at were actually lower in the UK than the US. Over the last 5 years, we calculated this morning that over the last 5 years, UK interest rates were typically about 0.3% less than the US. Now they're about 0.25% higher. So 0.5% makes a massive difference. If she could actually restore credibility and bring interest rates down by international investors having confidence in the UK, then actually that would lead to a better spiral upwards rather than downwards.
Fascinating stuff, and we really appreciate your insight this afternoon. That's Alan Miller there from SCM Direct. Thank you.
Thank you.
You get more on that, how the markets are reacting, and the rest, of course, of the money news, including Ryanair cancelling lots of flights today due to an air traffic control strike in France. By accessing the Money blog, all you need to do is scan the QR code that's on your screen right now, and that will take you through to the Sky News app. Now, recent data suggests that the number of new entry-level UK jobs has dropped by almost a third since the launch of ChatGPT. Figures from Adzonda point to a decline in graduate jobs, apprenticeships, internships and junior jobs. Meanwhile, Microsoft has confirmed that it's going to lay off as many as 9,000 workers, with plans to invest $80 billion in artificial intelligence. Well, delighted to say we can speak to Jitu Patel. He is president of Cisco and joins us this afternoon. In many ways, this is genuinely concerning on two levels, isn't it? i.e., if you're a graduate, recent graduate, if you're about to go to university, the jobs that you may well have relied upon in the past may not exist.
Darren, thank you for having me on the show. And, I do agree with you that it has been harder for the recent graduates to get into the workforce. But I'd say this, I think it's actually a bad strategy for not having entry-level candidates come in, because even the way that a 20-year-old thinks about AI is very different than a 27-year-old does, because they're AI native. They've actually gone through school with AI, and it's become part of an extension of the way in which they work. So I personally learn a lot from dealing with people that are in the early part of their career on how they think about this technology and how they incorporate it into their daily lives. And I actually feel like it's a strategic error for companies that aren't bringing in that workforce into the mix.
But I suppose for companies that are looking at the bottom line, if you like, it might be very tempting, effectively, not to hire people and rely on AI. And then the second point I was kind of alluding to in my first question is that then trickles down the line, doesn't it? Because lots of the people who've got those skills, when they retire, they've been replaced with people who may not have those skills because they weren't employed in the first place.
Yes, if we just take a step back and zoom out on what is happening, what's happening in the world of AI, we are moving squarely into the next era of AI. We started with this notion of chatbots that intelligently answered our questions. So now agents that are conducting tasks and jobs almost fully and autonomously on behalf of people. And there is going to be some retraining that needs to happen of the workforce, because the kind of ways in which we engage and in which we conduct our jobs will be different than the way that we did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But I do think that there is a very distinct value that humans provide. And I don't think we're anywhere close to AI just replacing humans. In fact, what I think is happening is the companion of an AI agent along with a human can create more than 10 to 50x more productivity that then allows us to go out and solve problems and prosecute them in ways that we haven't been able to solve in the past. So, to your question specifically, though, on the senior workforce going away and then going to the junior workforce, I do feel like the composition of the work will change. And I think that there's going to be more of a leveling that happens because people will be able to get up to speed faster because of AI.
Well, it's fascinating. The FT have got a piece today in which they suggest that effectively AI is going to make some boring jobs more boring, but also some interesting jobs even more interesting.
I'm more in the camp of I think the world is going to get far more interesting because there's a lot of jobs that AI does that humans don't care to do. And in fact, I don't know of a single person that says, every single thing in my item got checked off today. I did everything. There's a lot of things that we don't get to. And so frankly, if AI can do those repetitive tasks, if AI can actually make sure that they can conduct things that we don't either do as well or we don't want to get to, that takes a huge burden off, and it augments capacity where 8 billion people will feel like we have the throughput capacity of 80 billion humans, because you'll have billions of these agents that are going to enter the workforce that'll actually make sure that every human gets infinitely more productive. In fact, the way I think about this is there's going to be an exponential rise in throughput per capita in human beings as we move forward.
You know what? It is a fascinating discussion, and it is one that we are going to return to time and time again, aren't we? Jitu Patel, the president of Cisco, thank you so much indeed for joining us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, shares in the investment firm behind the latest weight loss innovation surged by some 13% after Morphic Medical received European regulatory approval for Reset. It's a new non-surgical treatment for obesity and type 2 diabetes. Clinical trials show that patients lost, on average, 19% of body weight within a year. So can this challenger British success take on, of course, those already established players? Well, delighted to say we can speak to the commercial director of this new innovation. That is Mike Gutteridge. Very good afternoon to you, Mike. Just, I suppose, first of all, just explain, because there's a lot of, innovations, particularly when it comes to weight loss around at the moment. Just explain what you guys have done and what you've got regulatory approval in the EU for.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on Sky News today on a day which has been dominated by the NHS's 10-year plan. But it's also a big milestone for Morphic Medical and, as you mentioned, our UK investor, Crystal Amber, as we receive CE mark for Reset, which is a medical device that's implanted via endoscopy that sits in your small bowel just below your stomach. And it allows you to separate the food and nutrients passing through your body from the lining of the small bowel. This does three things. It firstly enhances your GLP-1 levels in your body, which is similar to what a weight loss drug does. But it also sends a neural circuit signal to your brain to say that you're full and stop eating. So you get less food noise. So there are many patients out there that live with diabetes and obesity that don't respond to weight loss drugs.
So I suppose my big question, though, Mike, is that this sounds in principle quite similar to lots of other competitors are out there. What do you, and they've been around for a while now, what do you think your competitive edge is?
Yeah, so our competitive edge is working on three things. So it's not just working on obesity, it's really working on cardiometabolic disease. So things like type 2 diabetes as well as weight loss. And we've been seen to have lots of benefits on cardiovascular disease and things like liver disease as well. So it's a multifactorial procedure that helps patients' overall health situation.
And of course, what you need is regulatory approval. You've got it, as we've noted, in the EU. You're still waiting for, I think, here in the UK and the US too. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've got regulatory approval through CE marking. So we'll launch in Germany first, and then in the UK once we get the UK CA mark. We're currently working on enrollment for an FDA study in the US to gain market entry to that market.
And what about the concerns around side effects and the very fact that, you know, there is regulatory approval, but this is all relatively new and hasn't, you know, on a large scale been tested for a very long period of time?
Yeah, that's a great point. So we've had over 3,000 patients implanted with our device. And the results show, as you mentioned earlier, a good percentage of weight loss, around about 18%. But we've got an NHS study that shows 77% of patients had durable weight loss for 4 years after the treatment. The side effects are really minimalized with good training and procedural follow-up with the patient. So one of our key strategies moving forward is training the whole multidisciplinary team to really holistically look after the patient.
OK, fascinating stuff. And it is a competitive but undoubtedly growing market. Mike Gutteridge, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
OK, we're going to take a break here on Business Live. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, though, as England prepare to defend their Euros title, we're going to be speaking to a former Man City footballer who's set up a fast-growing parcel delivery firm. Talk about that in, about 3 or 4 minutes. Stay tuned.
Turkey is burying its dead.
Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin. The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks. If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
This is the game changer seat. Look, it even comes with binoculars. Flying units fly better. Thank you.
Very welcome back. Now, the Women's Euro 2025 officially kicked off last night, and on Saturday, England will begin the defence of their title when they take on France. Women's football is one of the fastest-growing sports in the world, but players' careers are often short, and that poses a big question about what you do next. Well, Merve Iqbal used to play for Man City, but in 2021, she founded Hived. It's a fast-growing parcel delivery firm, which has just raised some $42 million, and she's been named in the Sunday Times Young Power list. And delighted to say that Merve joins us now. A very good afternoon to you. Congratulations on raising all this money. I suppose the question is, just talk us through your company. What do you guys do that's slightly different from all the other delivery companies?
Yeah, great to be here. Well, as you can see, e-commerce delivery now is part of everyone's daily life. I mean, the UK is 10% of UK GDP. So with that needs a modern parcel delivery network that's built for modern cities. So with Hive, we've built a platform end-to-end, technology first, that basically makes the delivery experience so much better. I'm sure everyone has had a horror delivery story. We're here to take those away, and also for the retailer, provide their customers with a much better delivery experience when they use Hive.
And the fascinating thing about Hive is that it's also not just doing incredibly well, but it's embracing new technology. And we spend a lot of our lives now talking about artificial intelligence, don't we? But that's also part of the business too.
Yeah, it has to be now. So we're in a fortunate position where we launched in 2021 with the most modern database and data collection and technology architecture that we can utilize AI and machine learning really, really effectively. And some of the cases how we're using it now is phenomenal, from mentoring our drivers, giving them daily feedback to improve how they deliver, to using postcode logic a lot better, to machine learning. There's so many ways you can use AI and machine learning now, but you have to have a really solid foundation of database and technology architecture to really enable it and put it to use.
What about you yourself? I mean, you've now set up a successful business, of course, a very successful footballer too, but I do get, it's a bit kind of like when politicians lose the election, they kind of struggle about what they do next, and footballers often do struggle, don't they, about what to do when their career naturally comes to an end.
Yeah, but I think there's so many transferable skills. Like when I used to play football, all the skills I had then, which was like grit, resilience, all those things that I've taken to my business career. And I think you see a lot of footballers now, I think, are transitioning, whether becoming investors later on after their career or just trying new businesses. So I think there's a lot of transferable skills that I've personally learned from being a footballer at a young age and taking that into the business lifestyle. So lots of transferable skills, and also you need to win in business. And luckily, being on the football field, you're competitive, you want to win, you have to win, and you need to take that mentality to business as well.
And just very finally on that, are you talking to, do you cooperate with kind of, who you used to play with in the past? Is there, are there networks effectively there for people to tap into, particularly in the football world, to kind of try and be innovative in business?
It's getting larger, actually. I'm coming across it more and more in the past few years, where ex-pros or ex-footballers or even other sport athletes might be looking for a different career path. And now there's actually VC funds that are particularly looking at ex-footballers. One of the investors I invested into Hive early on were really impressed and looked for founders who had a particular sporting background because they saw the resilience and grit and skills. So it's becoming bigger and bigger. And definitely, I think, as long as, football and sports continues and to transfer into business.
And Merva, just very finally, are England going to do it?
Yeah, they've got a tough game against Wales, but I think they've got a great team of mixed and established players. So I'm very confident.
So you know what, England may well win the Euros. Thank you very much indeed. That's Merva Iqbal there, who has set up Hive, which has just raised tens of millions of dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. That is it for me on Business Live for this afternoon. We're back, of course, tomorrow morning at 11:30. We're still awaiting to see whether the House of Representatives will pass that big, beautiful Donald Trump tax bill. Apparently, Donald Trump is waiting with his pen. Mark Austin's up next with the News Hour. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.